Hi there. Today we're going to work through the process of registering and configuring a Google API key for the Address Autocomplete feature, as well as the Maps feature, which is visible on the thank you page. Now this process is a bit arduous, and what I have found is that very often the screenshots that are visible in our document are not what you will see when you are going through this. This is because depending on the state that your account is in, all bets are off. So what I'm going to go through is just how to configure it on a new project on an existing account, and hopefully this will cover all of the issues that you might run into. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here where I am basically at the home of the Google Cloud Console. And I've created a brand new project called CheckoutWC testing. Now, an important thing is to make sure that billing is enabled. If you do not have billing enabled, your API key is not going to work. So you can either link a billing account, in which case there are no active billing accounts on this account, so we could create one, and you can just use the default name if you would like, and you basically are indicating how you want to pay for things. So I'm just going to go ahead and enable with my card that's already saved, just so that's out of the way. And then what we're going to do, now that billing should be enabled on that project, or at least the billing account exists, let's go back to the top here. And let's make sure that that is linked. No, it's not linked. So we're going to link to my billing account. So again, if you go back to Cloud Overview and you click on billing, if it's not linked to an account, it's going to offer you to link it to an account, or you can click Manage Billing Accounts and create a billing account that way. So, like I said, this process is anything but straightforward. So now we have a billing account set up for our CheckoutWC testing project. So what we'll do next is we're going to go to the API and Services library. And there are a few things that we're going to want to enable here. If we refer back to our document, we suggest, well, this is through the setup wizard, but if we scroll down here, we want the Places API, the Maps JavaScript API, and the Geocoding API. So let's go enable those. So let's just search for Places API, and we'll click it, and we'll click Enable. All right, so this is actually going to create an API key. So that's kind of interesting. We'll look at that later. And it has a couple of defaults here. So it's saying, do you want to enable all Google Maps APIs for this project? I'm just going to disable that for now, and I'm also going to disable the budget for now. That's up to you, but I really want to focus on the minimal APIs that we need for this project. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's go back to API Services and to Library. And Maps JavaScript API was the second API that we need. So let's click on that. Let's click Enable. Okay, so that one's enabled too. You'll see under Enabled APIs, Maps JavaScript API, and Places API. And that is visible if you go to Enabled APIs and Services. Theoretically. I actually have no idea how to get back to that screen. All right, let's keep going, and let's enable the last API. So that's under API and Services Library. And this one's called Geocoding. And this allows us to take in address, give it to Google, and get a geocoded location for it that we can then use to render it on the maps on the thank you page. So we're going to enable this API, and then we should have all three APIs enabled. All right, so the next thing we're going to want to do is we'll go to API and Services Credentials. And it looks like we have a Maps API key that was created by the wizard a few minutes ago. So that's fine. We can reuse this. We'll just call this CheckoutWC Address Autocomplete page maps. And I'm going to leave this API key visible, but it will be deleted by the time this video is published. So what you will probably want to do is set up some restrictions. You can restrict by IP address. You can restrict by the website. So you can add a refer. So you can say, well, I only want this to be usable on my website. Something like that. I'm not going to set up any restrictions right now since this is just for testing. I'm going to leave that on none, which is not recommended. You should not run this in production with that. And then what I'm going to do though is I am going to restrict this to the APIs that we enabled. I don't want any other APIs to be accessible if we enable them on our account later. And then I'm going to save. All right, so let's go back in here. Let's copy our key and then let's test it. Now we're going to go over to our CheckoutWC testing site. And the first place we're going to go to is WP admin, CheckoutWC integrations. And this is where we paste in our API key and save. And then we can go to pages, or if you're using an older version, it might say checkout. And we'll scroll down and we'll make sure that Google Address Autocomplete is enabled. It is. And then you can either go to WP admin, CheckoutWC thank you, or if you're on a newer version, 8.0 or later, then it would be under thank you. And we have enable maps embed. So that is already checked. So that is good. So let's test it and make sure it is working. Go to our store. And let's just go ahead and go to checkout. All right, and what we're going to do here is we're going to start typing in an address. And as you can see, it is already working. And if we go all the way through and we complete the order, we should see a map of that address. And we do. So that is essentially it. There's nothing really more to it than that. Again, based on where your account is, if you already have a Google Cloud account, the process is going to be a little different than if you don't. So the key thing is, the key three things are: 1, make sure you have a billing account enabled for your project. 2, make sure you go to the API and Services library area and enable the Places API, the Maps JavaScript API, and the Geocoding API. And then 3rd, you will want to go to API and Services Credentials, make sure that you create a key or use an existing key, set up any refer restrictions or IP address restrictions for safety so that if your key is exposed somehow, people won't be able to spin up servers and cost you lots of money. And then in that, you will want to set up your API key restrictions. And this is where you indicate that this key can only be used for the Places API, the Maps JavaScript API, and the Geocoding API. Once that's done, you just pop your key into WP admin, CheckoutWC integrations, enable the Google Address Autocomplete feature and the Maps feature, and you will be good to go. Thanks for watching.